What everyday skill is suspicious if you're too good at it? Story 1. Recognizing faces. I was approaching the check-in counter of a hotel I didn't remember being in before when the desk clerk welcomed me by name. I was visibly startled. His coworker explained, "He's got a freakish memory." I checked later, I had been there 3 years before. In his job, with the thousands of faces he sees a year, that is a little disturbing. Makes me wonder that with such an amazing memory, why he settles for a regular clerk job in a hotel. Story 2. I once had a neighbor catch me while I was taking groceries out of my car and ask if I knew how to open locked doors as they locked themselves out by mistake. Went over to their door, took out a credit card, and shimmied my way in no more than 5 seconds. Probably was bittersweet for them. My boss locked herself out of the shop last week and I did this. We're getting new locks in the security system now, but if you had told her how easy it is a week ago, she wouldn't have given a shit. Seeing is believing. Wow, that would definitely concern me and make me want to get new locks and a better security system. Story 3. Walking silently. It's always a good skill to have to be able to be quiet in a moment's notice, but do it too well and you start appearing behind people and freaking them out. "How long have you been there?" type things. My SO's parents' house has hardwood floors that everyone just stomps around on. I don't like making noise when I walk, so according to them, I sneak around their house and scare them unintentionally sometimes. Story 4. A couple of years ago, I locked my keys in my car in a Walmart parking lot. I went in and asked if they could help me. 2 employees came out with a jimmy. The one guy made a bet with the other that he could unlock my car in under a minute. He then proceeded to unlock my car in 15 seconds. I told him thanks, you must have a lot of practice, to which he laughed and walked away. Story 5. Eavesdropping. I just passively listen to other people a lot when I'm alone, even if I'm doing something else. It gets really embarrassing when you bring up information you heard from their conversation, forgetting that you weren't involved, or when you laugh at a joke said by someone across the room. Edit. My previous grammar frustrated me. Story 6. Genuine kindness. My father was such a good soul, and people were suspicious about his kindness sometimes. I had a boss who was pretty much Mr. Rogers. It took a while to get used to it. We still work with each other sometimes, and I still occasionally think he's being a sarcastic ass, when he's definitely not. You just never know what's going on in a person's head. Maybe it's more a matter of action speaks louder than words. Story 7. Tying a noose. At basic training, I got tasked to help the drill sergeants create their haunted house. Battalion competition. Long story. My drill asked if anyone knew how to tie a noose, and I whipped out a perfect one in only a few seconds. He just looked at me and said, "Private, what the?" Story 8. Not me, but someone I know once mentioned to me back in their high school days, they were suspected of being a snitch because they would always be inclined to leave right before the bust happened. It wasn't that the guy was a snitch. He'd say that sometimes he just got a feeling, or he knew when a party was just dead. Some sort of sixth sense for this. Every time he got around to leaving, his buddies would usually follow suit, since they were usually the ones dealing anyways. Story 9. I look at license plates. I don't know why, but it's every day for me. But for some reason, I pretty much had the license plate of the girl I liked memorized. It was easy to remember, and we worked the same place together every day, so I saw it a lot. One time, I almost slipped and said, "Hey, were you driving out in today?" and almost mentioned that the truck's license plate looked just like hers. Good job you didn't say anything to her and instead only thought about it, because that would be a dead giveaway if you had, and maybe creepy too. Story 10. Cleaning blood from things. Every woman, especially moms, should have some ability here, but be able to help someone cleaning up after an accident or injury and get the surprised looks and side eyes. Hubby's in the EGA branch of the US military. Within a month of married, his whole shop was bringing blooded uniforms to our house. Touch, football and kitchen, accidents, read. But thank God for baking soda. That's just gross. But I never knew you could use baking soda to get blood out of clothes. Story 11. So, by an incidental combination of being a gearhead and at one time a tow truck driver, I am a little more observant when it comes to cars than most. I also have a knack for numbers and memorize things unintentionally. I've stopped mentioning to people that I saw their car somewhere or other, the movies, for example. It's awkward explaining that I know your plate and can spot your POS Sentra from across the parking lot. Sometimes it's better to just shut up, but it's hard when you have superhero skills, lol. Story 12. I have very fast reading comprehension. People never believe me when I say that I've already read it and get frustrated that I don't take longer. I can't do simple math, but I read like lightning. I'm also very good with card handling, so everyone suspects that I cheat at poker. I encourage that because it keeps their eyes on my hands and not on my face. You could definitely use that to your advantage. Reading fast can be a really useful skill. Story 13. Due to my job, property management, and me being a flake, used to lose, forget my keys a lot, I've gotten really good at quickly breaking into houses and apartments. Story 14. Having a really good memory. I've learned that this can creep people out. In freshman year of high school, a teacher accused me of cheating on the test because I finished it too quickly. Ironically, the test was on test-taking strategies. Story 15. Noticing details about people. I have moved around a lot and have worked in a lot of industries, one being in tourism. If I'm a tour guide and I notice a particular brand of clothing and ask someone if they're from a particular place, and am right, it's me being observant and leads to a fun discussion. If I do the same thing in line getting coffee, it's considered creepy. That could definitely creep some people out. It would make me feel like I was being watched, observed or something. Deliberate. Story 16. Apparently, knowing drug names, I once told somebody that they could mix ibuprofen and acetaminophen because they don't with each other, and they thought I was a drug dealer for the longest time. Yes, why do people think this is so weird? I'm not going to learn 30 brand names when it has one chemical name, unless there's something special about one brand over the other in terms of effectiveness. Story 17. I once went to a science convention thing, and they had a rectoscopy simulator there. It was this camera snake cable thing that you feed into a hole in the machine, and a screen showed a fake camera feed from the tunnel, I got such a good score that the woman at the booth said, "You must have done this before." Edit. I guess it's called colonoscopy. Anyway, most embarrassing high score. Story 18. As a guy, being good at undoing a bra with one hand while making out with a girl, if you do this too smoothly, she may suspect that you are a player. Best to fumble at it clumsily until it pops open. But don't fumble so much you ruin the moment. It's a delicate balance. Story 19. Getting over bad feedback, negative events. I have a rule that if something bad happens at work, I can be upset for 20 seconds, then move on. Not let it bother me except to fix it if needed. People seem to think that makes me a bit psychopathic. I don't happen to think that's psychopathic. I think it's a really great technique that can help you survive. Story 20. I work at a university where students lock their keys in their cars on a daily basis. If you are unlocking cars 5 to 10 times a week, every week for years, it's an everyday talent. One of the hardest cars to break into, for me, was an old Saturn. Something about the way the door fit into the frame of the car made it very difficult. Story 21. Unintentional memorization. Passwords, pins, garage door codes, zip codes, just random numbers. I remember it all. But for the life of me, I cannot remember your name, even if you said it 2 minutes ago. Story 22. Butchering. I work professionally with raptors, the feathered kind, not the clever girl kind. And for a while, I was prepping on average 15 quail a day. From frozen through to plucked and gutted and portioned. It's useful in the kitchen too, for ducks, turkey, chicken. I've also processed venison before. Then, when people find out that I work at a landfill, I fly the raptors to keep the gulls out. They are suddenly afraid to make me mad. Story 23. Interrogating someone without them knowing. I was at a school thing and one of my girl classmates really liked a guy, but was too nervous to talk to him. She asked me to figure out some of his info, and I ended up getting first name, last name, school, hobbies, and grade level. She was happy, but more than a little creeped out about how casually I did it. Sounds to me like you'd make a good private investigator or detective of some kind. You need a lot of good observation talents for that. Story 24. Being calm. People accuse you of being cold if you are not as agitated as they are. Story 25. Shuffling cards. Him. Wanna play cards? Me. Sure. Gambit routine with lightning speed. Him. Not for money, right? Story 26. Knowing where people keep items on their person. Friend will be looking for his keys or phone, and I'll know what jacket pocket he left it in. Story 27. Being able to quickly convert between ounce and gram. I can easily convert $100 bills into grams. Amazing, dude. Wish I could do that, but I suck at math. Story 28. I don't think it's really an everyday skill, but being able to tell somebody by the sound of their footsteps, when friends or family approach my door, I know who's about to knock. I love creeping them out by saying, "Come in, David." Story 29. The removal of stains. I like to use a lot of bleach and get the, "Oh, you must be used to cleaning up the murder scenes." A. I like the smell of it. B. If I was cleaning up a murder scene, there are way better chemicals than bleach. Story 30. Maintaining composure during a crisis. Do it too much. People think you lack sympathy and are a sociopath. Yeah, it's like the old saying, damned if you do and damned if you don't kind of thing. Story 31. I used to be a dispatcher for home hearing fuel in Juneau, Alaska. And when I meet people, I'd say, "Oh, you live such and such street." I'd get an uncomfortable silence from them and have to tell them, "We deliver your oil. I work." Story 32. Picking up on small details and remembering them for months. My friends are always like, "How did you possibly remember that?" Story 33. Remembering someone else's schedule. I've had people get a little freaked out when I ask how a specific appointment task is going when I remember them telling me about it days prior. Story 34. Being a very persuasive salesperson. Ugh, if someone is too convincing, I just assume they're trying to scam me. I can't stand salespeople who are pushy and try to convince me of something I don't even want. Story 35. Running in high heels. Definitely not great unless you want to break your ankles or your neck. Story 36. Knife sharpening, unless you're a chef. Edit. Yes, I get it. People, butchers too. Story 37. Whistling. I can whistle the Android text tone, and it freaks people out. How do you know you're a real human and not an android? Story 38. Remembering names. Oh, hi, Beth. Remember me? We sat on a bench together for like 5 minutes about a year ago. Gets maced. Story 39. Locating children. Story 40. Removing clothes off of an uncooperative toddler. Story 41. Lying. Being a good liar means you don't raise suspicion. Yes, it's a survival tactic. Story 42. Smiling. Story 43. Anything borderline fancy with twirling knives. I carry and use my pocket knives quite often and have picked up ways to easily handle them. People either assume that I'm full of weeb or a serial killer. Story 44. Opening a beer without a proper bottle opener. No, I definitely don't practice this multiple times a day. Story 45. Being able to measure somewhere between 5 to 9 inches using some arbitrary references on your hand. Just tonight, my friend asked how long 8 inches is. My exact reference and quick conversion to cm was definitely looked at with suspicion. Story 46. If you're too good, people will assume you've had a lot of it and are therefore if you're good enough, they won't have the brain power to question anything. Story 47. Knowing the precise limits of what the law requires or prohibits. Story 48. Being able to count money really fast. You can learn that by working as a teller at a bank. Story 49. The ability to get into locked buildings. I've had my mom asked if I'm a burglar and also said I'm useful for when she's locked out. If I was your mom, I'd definitely think you might be a burglar. Story 50. Hand washing. If you go above the wrist and you're not a surgeon, I'm going to kill you before you kill me. Click on one of the videos on the screen now, or Karen will sue you.